about to leave, already packing. Come with me, I'm not really asking. We'll get away to a place where we don't know. About to see the world in action, what we can be, life with no distractions. We'll get away, this is what we waited for. Take my hand, we'll make it somehow. We can't miss out. I'm done living life with the lights out. Die with my own doubts. Be free with me. Let's go, let's be free with me. Be free. Not looking back, eyes on the freeway, Bonnie and Clyde, a classic cliche. We're on the run, this is what we waited for. Take my hand, we'll make it somehow. We can't miss out. I'm done living life with the lights out. Die with my own doubts. Be free.
Evening, everyone. It's Jim here at Tutor to You. Welcome to our first A-Level Business live stream of this new calendar year, 2022. And we've got a slightly different format for these sessions, but with the usual mix of interactive activities interspersed with a bit of exam gold from our team. And joining me this evening, stroke this afternoon, it's 5 o'clock. I think that's this afternoon, is Graham. Welcome back, Graham. And Mike. Welcome back, team.
Good evening, Jim. Good evening, Graham.
Evening, Jim. Hello, Mike.
Good to see you. So, we're calling this Exam Skills Live because the idea of these sessions across all the subjects, A-Level and GCSE, is to sort of go beyond pure knowledge and try to start to do more to develop live exam skills, in particular application and analysis, but also we'll move on to looking at evaluation. And tonight's focus is operations, Graham and Mike. So we're going to be looking at operations, in particular, sort of operational efficiency. So anything to say before we crack on? What do we think?
Just as we do know, yeah, so we're going to try and focus a bit more on application and analysis in this session. But as we know, knowledge is the foundation of all strong answers. So we will be doing a little bit of a knowledge blast at the start and at the end, in the form of some MCQs. So we've got lots of different activities. Hopefully you'll get a lot out of it. Please use the chat window to put your comments in. We can pick up on those. It'd be great to see some answers in there. We're going to start off with an activity called the Big Reveal, just to get us settled, and then Mike will take us through some multiple choice questions. Shall we start, Jim?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay, so the Big Reveal, there are 5 clues that lead to you finding out the name of a well-known business. As soon as you think you know the name of the business, please type that into the chat window. Simo, of course, you can go to the toilet. So this business was founded in 1939. So if you think I know of a business that was founded in 1939, then type that into the chat window. So this business was founded in 1939. So it's not Apple. So that rules out any business that was founded in 1938 and before, because this was founded in 1939. I think Apple was founded in 1938, if I am correctly. So can we have the next clue, please, Jim? So now we're getting somewhere now. So it was founded in 1939, but it opened its first shop in 1951. So we know it sells things because it's not a service business. It's got a shop. So founded in 1939. The first shop opened in 1951. There's not a lot to go on there. So let's look at clue number 3. So the first shop was in Gosforth, Newcastle. I used to teach in Gosforth High School in Newcastle. So the first shop was in Gosforth, Newcastle. So it's a northeastern business, Newcastle based. What do we think? Any clues? So we should now know of a famous business. I think there are some correct answers coming into the chat window. This business is on a roll. It's a bakery chain with over 2,000 outlets. It's not Lotus. Let's look at clue number 5. Vegan sausage roll. It is indeed Greggs. So Greggs' first shop opened in Gosforth, Newcastle. It is the UK's leading bakery, founded in 1939 in Gosforth, Newcastle. Fantastic. Well done for all those who had a go. Lots of people putting in the right answer into the chat window, which is absolutely fantastic to see. Actually, I think I got it wrong. I think I'm doing the MCQs, Mike, aren't I? And then you're doing the on balance activity. So my mistake there. So let's have a look at our first MCQ. So you've got a question there and 4 possible answers. All we're asking you to do is put A, B, C, or D in the chat window. So let's quickly read through this. A business has total variable costs per month of £100,000 and monthly fixed costs of £20,000. The business produces 240,000 units per year. What is the cost of producing 1 unit? So, what do we think? A business has total variable costs per month of £100,000 and monthly fixed costs of £20,000. The business produces 240,000 units per year. What is the cost of producing the unit? I think there's something in the chat window, Jim, there saying the first line is slightly cropped, and yeah, that's better. Perfect. Well done. Great stuff. So you might need a calculating implement here. What is the cost of producing 1 unit? So there are lots of answers coming in the chat window. None are correct as yet. So if you're typing in C or D, unfortunately, that is not the correct answer. What do we think? You might need a calculator for this. Now, this is an MCQ, but if you've got this question as a general calculation question, remember, always show you're working out. That way, if you get the question wrong, the final answer wrong, you may still get some marks for showing you're working out. I've still not seen the correct answer yet. Let's reveal the correct answer. It is £6. Let's quickly go through how that is worked out. Well, the monthly total costs are £120,000. That is 100,000 plus the 20,000 pound. That's the monthly total costs. The business produces 240,000 units per year. So that is 20,000 units per month. So the 120,000 divided by the 20,000 gives us £6. So the cost of producing each unit is £6. So calculating unit costs is a popular exam question. Make sure you are on top of your costs and how to calculate unit or average costs. Next question, please, Jim. So, a business reduces its workforce by increasing automation through new technology. This results in capacity increasing by 20% and unit costs increasing by 10%. This is an example of, is it A, more capital-intensive production leading to economies of scale? Is it B, more labour-intensive production leading to economies of scale? Is it C, more labour-intensive production leading to diseconomies of scale? Or is it D, more capital-intensive production leading to diseconomies of scale? What do we think? Is it A? Is it B? Is it C? Or is it D? And it's great to see so many answers coming into the chat window. And I think based on this, I think the majority of us, the majority of people have got it right. I think the majority are going for D. I have seen an A in there. Let's have a look at the answer. It is D, because it's increasing automation. Therefore, it's becoming more capital intensive. The business increasing its capacity, so the business is getting larger in terms of production capacity, and its unit costs are increasing. As its unit costs are increasing, as capacity is increasing, that tells us that it is suffering from diseconomies of scale. Well done, everyone. Can we have a look at question 3? So the formula to calculate capacity utilization is it A, is it B, is it C, or is it D? Now remember, you are not given any of the formulas in the exam, so you need to make sure you are up to speed in all the different formulas. What do we think? Is it A, is it B, is it C, or is it D? Good stuff. We seem to know our capacity utilization formula, and let's reveal the answer. It is indeed A, actual output divided by the maximum possible output. So, actual output divided by capacity, multiplied by 100. Remember, it is always expressed as a percentage. Well done for everyone who had a go at those 3 MCQs. Lots of right answers in the chat window. I'm going to hand you over to Mike now, who's going to take you through an on-balance activity.
Thanks, Graham. Indeed, I am. This activity is called On Balance because we're looking to produce a balanced response, as you'll need to do in your assessments. So we're looking here for 2 benefits. First of all, 2 benefits of high capacity utilization. 2 benefits of high capacity utilization. Pop your answers in the chat window and we'll have a look at some suggestions in a moment. So 2 benefits of high capacity utilization. Why might that be advantageous for a business? Answers coming through, people typing away. Looking for 2 benefits of high capacity utilization. Thank you, Dylan. Can see yours. And Luca, good to see this. Remember, important to give this a go if you're watching live and just test yourselves. Lots and lots of answers coming through. Let's have a look at a couple of suggestions. Certainly seen some of these in the chat window. So high capacity utilization. First of all, we've said increased motivation due to security needs being met. The job security that it might give employees in a business if the business is busy, as opposed to if the business is operating well below its capacity and they're worried about their jobs. So employees increase motivation because their security needs are being met. Note the link there to Maslow. And lower unit costs as well. And lots of people have mentioned that. Lower unit costs, higher capacity utilization means lower unit costs. And we'll look at that in just a moment and explain that a bit more. Good answer from Richard as well. Efficiency and lower unit costs. Well done. Lots coming through. So we're looking for balance in our response. We've looked at benefits of high capacity utilization. So guess what? We now need to look at disadvantages or drawbacks of high capacity utilization. Why might it be a bad thing? Why might it not be entirely brilliant for a business to have high capacity utilization? Answers in the chat window once more, please. Looking for 2 disadvantages. You can do them individually, one by one, or you can do them both in the same. And here they come. Yeah, so we've, I can see William with diseconomies of scale, less flexibility, less time for maintenance. Luca, Foxfly, lots of people coming through with some really accurate answers. Thank you so much for those. Let's have a look at a couple on the screen then. So we've definitely had this one in the chat window, less time for staff training and routine maintenance. If the business is operating at high capacity utilization, machinery and equipment may be overused, may not have time to maintain it, and or may not be time for staff to be trained. So those two things may fall by the wayside because the business is operating with high capacity utilization. And also there may be quality issues, perhaps, if the business is producing at a high level and employees are stretched, depending on what quality control system or quality assurance system they use. It may be difficult for them to monitor that. Lots of people mentioning the idea of flexibility as well. Obviously, if the business is operating close to capacity, then it will be difficult for them to take on additional orders. And I think Richard said that verbatim, may not be able to take on new business. So they may not be able to accept special orders. Remember the importance of balance in your extended responses, looking for advantages or benefits and disadvantages as well. Let's go on to the next slide, please, Jim, and just look at the relationship here between capacity utilization and unit costs. A few key things to point out. First of all, try to calculate the cost per unit at 1,000 units of output. Cost per unit at 1,000 units of output. What would be the cost per unit at 1,000 units of output? If you look from the table, units of output in the left column, and then we've got the cost per unit to be calculated in the far right column. So calculate the cost per unit at 1,000 units of output. Answer in the chat window again, please. Keep the answers coming. Keep going with this. Calculate the cost per unit. Thank you. I think Richard Owlett was the first with that. And Dylan and Aisha and Foxfly, well done. Lots of answers coming through. I apologize if I've credited someone before, credited someone incorrectly, but I'm trying to pick them out. Lots of answers coming through, which is brilliant. So we're looking here at the total costs and dividing that by the units of output to get the cost per unit, which is, as so many of you have correctly pointed out, £70. The cost per unit is £70. And we can see here that as output increases on the left, as output increases from 200 units to 1,000 units, the cost per unit is falling. Note, please, it's the cost per unit that's falling from £150 per unit to £70 per unit. As a result of the business operating close to its capacity, the unit costs are falling. Please note that its unit costs are not total costs. If you look in the penultimate column there, the total costs are increasing as units of output increase. So the total costs are increasing. It's the cost per unit that's falling. And it's because those fixed costs, the costs that don't change with output, are therefore spread over more units. Okay, so the relationship there between capacity utilization and unit costs illustrated there very nicely. Graham, I'm going to hand over to you, I think, for the next activity.
Cheers, Mike. And just to pick up on something there, it's really important to know that calculation because that'll allow you to get greater depth of analysis. Because as we can see, as output increases, cost per unit falls. So a business could decide to that business there could decide to reduce its prices. That would obviously depend on price elasticity of demand, or it could keep the prices the same and enjoy higher profit margins. So it just shows you by knowing, the fact that as output increases, the fixed costs are spread out over more units of output, unit costs fall, you can get some good depth of analysis there. So that just shows you how to use knowledge to develop your analysis. So what we're going to do now is we are going to focus now on a really good technique to improve your analysis. We've got a question here. Depending on your exam board, if you're an AQA student, it might be analyze. If you're an Edexcel student, it might be assess. So we've got a question here. Analyze or assess, depending on your exam board, the potential impact of car manufacturer Nissan operating at 40% capacity utilization. So that's our question. And I'm going to show you a line of analysis, or an argument, an answer to that question. So Jim, can you just click once more, please? So we've got a potential answer here. One potential impact is operating at 40% capacity utilization is that it could result in higher unit costs. Consequently, Nissan may need to increase its prices. Right, in the chat window, can you just click once more for me, Jim, please? Can you tell me in the chat window what is wrong with that argument you can see on screen? What do we think? So you can see an answer there. You've got the question. You've got the question. You've got an answer. Can you tell me what is wrong with that argument? Because you might write something like that and think, you know what, I've really answered the question there. Tell me in the chat window 1 or 2 things that are wrong with that argument, that answer you can see on screen. It'd be great to get some responses. What do we think? Well, we've got there no balance. We don't need balance necessarily at this stage. It's just that argument there. What you see on screen now. Katie's picked up on a really, really good point there. There is no explanation as to why there are higher unit costs. Katie, that is a phenomenal point. Well done for spotting that. Tara's come up with a great one there. There is no depth in the chain of analysis. We've got there, hasn't explained why they would need to increase the selling price. Now, this is really, really good there. And Dylan said there, you know, there's no explanation as the effect of increased prices. Now, both Mike and I are seasoned examiners, and it's not uncommon to see answers like this. Now, first of all, that opening line there is a complete waste of time. All the student has done there is repeated the question. You don't need to do that. So you could have written less there. Basically, just make the point. So higher unit costs. Now, what it doesn't do, and which a lot of you have said in the chat window, which is absolutely superb, is, and we'll see on the next slide, please, Jim. It doesn't explain how it could result in unit costs. It doesn't explain why Nissan may need to increase prices. And it doesn't also explain or analyze how the price increase may impact Nissan. So how and why is a really, really good technique to allow you to develop more logical chains of reasoning and get depth of analysis. And it is frequently mentioned in examiners' reports that students fail to address the hows and the whys when analyzing. So a lot of you said that in the answer. Lydia there said there's actually, you know, there's no application to Nissan really. That could have been about any single business. So out of all the techniques we do, like in our exam coaching workshops and things like that, how and why is one of the key ones. So it's a really good technique to allow you to get greater depth of analysis and reach the higher levels of the mark scheme. So what we're going to do is we're going to put that to the test. Can we have a look at our stepping stones template, please? Next slide, please, Jim. A bit like Chris Whitty there. So let's look through. Stepping stones is another really useful way to develop your logical chain of analysis. So what we're looking for when you analyze, we want logical steps. Okay, so I'll just talk you through this, and then Mike's going to do another one with you. So one potential impact is the possibility of higher unit costs. Now let's explore the hows and the whys. So let's quickly just read through this. This is because the fixed costs of Nissan, such as production wages, so immediately we've got some application there, don't change in relation to how many cars Nissan manufacture. So we've got manufacture and we've got the word cars in there. So straight away, this is what we call contextualized analysis. And there's now some analysis of the first point. Can we have a look at our next step in the chain? Consequently, the fixed costs are spread out over fewer vehicles, again, application, leading to an increase in the unit cost of manufacturing a car, more application. So we can see how just taking a logical step-by-step approach, exploring the hows and the whys in context, allow us to analyze at a much greater depth. Can we continue, please, Jim? Therefore, Nissan may need to increase its prices. It may not, but it may, in order to maintain the same contribution as before. Remember, contribution, the difference between selling price and variable cost per unit. And let's continue the logical chain of analysis. As a result, this may mean that the price of Nissan's cars are more expensive than the likes of Ford. Again, application, which could result, it may not, but it could result in fewer car sales and potentially even lower capacity utilization, increasing unit costs even further. Now, if you compare that to the first answer, all we've done there is explain the hows and the whys in context. And what is really good about this chain of analysis, at the end there, a lot of students always try to end in, therefore leads to increased sales revenue and profit. Other lines of analysis are available. So here, it is very focused on the question. When you read it, you're talking about a car manufacturer, and it explains the hows and the whys in detail. So that is what really we want out of analysis questions or assess questions in your arguments. Explain the hows and the whys in context. So hopefully, again, someone said about, will the stream be accessible? It will be, and it is worth just going back through this, because reading questions and answers such as this will help you to write in context and get more logical chains of analysis. So hopefully you found that useful. How and why. So I'm going to hand you over to Mike now, who's going to do a connection activity.
Thanks, Graham. It's called Connection Spinner, and we're looking to find the connection between two different concepts or two different items. So let's have a look. First of all, we've got labour productivity in the middle here. So we're looking for the connection between labour productivity and one of the 6 items around the outside. So we've got pay, quality, efficiency, unit costs, automation, and training. Let's have a look. Let's get the connection wheel turning. I wonder where it will stop. Unit costs. So we're looking for the relationship or the connection between labour productivity and unit costs. See if you can pop an answer in the chat window. Doesn't need to be too detailed. What's the relationship between labour productivity and unit costs? You could summarise this in a couple of words easily, I think. Some of you are typing whole sentences. Brilliant stuff. Something from Hannah, from Simona, and Ellie, I think. Yeah. And lots more coming through. Let's have a look at our answer, please, Jim. So the connection here, as so many of you have pointed out, higher labour productivity will reduce labour costs per unit. Okay, we're talking about unit costs. We're talking about labour cost per unit, leading to a reduction in unit costs. So higher labour productivity, workers producing more in the same time period, reduces the labour cost per unit, and it leads to a reduction in the cost of manufacturing each unit. So labour productivity and unit costs, there is the connection. Well done, those of you that have picked that out. As Jim's put in the chat window, particularly strong for labour intensive businesses that are reliant on labour as opposed to capital. Let's do another one of those then. So looking for the connection again, we've got the same 6 items, looking for the link with labour productivity. One of my favourite activities, this, I think. Here goes the connection wheel. Okay, so labour productivity and the connection with training. What's the difference? Sorry, what's the connection? Labour productivity and training. This is called Connection Spinner, Mike. Clues in the name. So the connection between labour productivity and training. What is the connection? Lydia's quick in with that one. I'll wait, I'll give you a few more seconds. I can sense people typing away. Thank you, Luca and Katie, Millie. Yeah, we've got the gist of this, I think. So let's have a look at the answer, please, Jim. Connection between labour productivity and training. As so many of you have recognised, training staff can make them more productive, making them more skilled, making them more able to do their jobs, which makes them more productive. It may also increase motivation, which could further increase labour productivity. So connection there between labour productivity and training. Well done, all those of you that have contributed, and especially those that were able to pick that out. So let's look at another one of our stepping stone activities. We've got a question here, depending on your exam board, analyse or assess. Analyse or assess the potential impact of IKEA introducing a system of quality assurance. Analyse or assess the potential impact of IKEA introducing a system of quality assurance. And here's a very basic answer, and we should be able to recognise this as a very basic answer. One benefit of introducing a system of quality assurance is that it should lead to better quality. As a result, IKEA may be able to charge a higher price for its products. Well, once again, as Graham pointed out before, the first sentence, most of it is a waste of effort. We don't need to repeat a question. We don't need to introduce it. We can simply say here, better quality. But then the student here has tried to jump the stream in one go rather than using stepping stones. They've gone from better quality to higher price. So there's no how and there's no why. Let's have a look at another stepping stone activity, looking to complete a chain of analysis. The chain there, because it's linked, each sentence, each element of it is linked together. Okay, so one benefit is that it should lead to higher quality. Okay, and we could simplify that sentence, but one benefit, it should lead to higher quality. That therefore can mean it's, or explaining it's because everyone in IKEA will be responsible for quality. A couple of comments in the chat window about quality assurance yet. Stages, the quality assurance is going to bring in checks at every stage. So everyone in IKEA will be responsible for quality. Next stepping stone here, and a brilliant connective to start the sentence. Okay, consequently, connective which links this third stepping stone to the second one. Consequently, this should lead to a reduction in faulty products such as wardrobes and beds, leading to higher quality. A couple of things to pick out here. There's application in this third stepping stone. So wardrobes and beds are products that IKEA sells. It's not exclusively what they sell, but wardrobes and beds are examples of products that they sell. I also like, after the connective, the student here says this should lead to a reduction. Doesn't mean it will lead, but it should lead. Okay, so it's slightly nuanced, but it's less assertive and saying this should lead to a reduction in faulty products, such as wardrobes and beds, leading to higher quality. Following on from that, as a result, another great connective. Okay, consequently, and then as a result of higher quality, IKEA may be able to increase the price of its furniture, such as tables and chairs. Well, IKEA sells furniture, and tables and chairs are examples of furniture. And I don't think I'm teaching you anything you don't already know, but that's good application to IKEA. So another stepping stone, we've got analysis combined with context. So contextualized analysis here, which is really good, such as tables and chairs, as customers may be prepared to pay a higher price for better quality furniture, as it may last longer and need replacing less often. Graham mentioned the desire amongst so many students to go to the point about sales and profitability. There's a good chain of analysis here, lots of stepping stones without necessarily having to get to that point. Now, if you're thinking about the end point for your analysis, you're going to take that from the question. And if it talked about impact on profit, then that might be the point that you would have to go on to. And the need for however point would depend on the type of question you're asking. We're looking here at stepping stones and building analysis. Okay, so really good questions coming up. Really good example here of stepping stones in action. It's a great way of building your analysis. Using those connectives at the start of each sentence just shows the examiner that you are linking those sentences together. Rather than trying to do it over one sentence, rather than trying to do it really quickly, as we saw with the previous slide, this is built over several sentences which are joined together like a chain with those connectives. Graham, I think it's over to you now, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Jim, can you just leave this? Can you just leave that slide on for me, please? Because I just want to pick up a couple of things in the chat window there now. Because this is not exam board specific, if you are an Edexcel student, and that question is assess, then yes, you would need a however point, or you would need to show balance. But all we wanted to do was show you what the first paragraph would look like. If you are an AQA student and the question is analyze, then there is no valuation marks there. So if you're an AQA student and it says analyze, there are only marks for knowledge, application, and analysis. If you are an EdXL student and the question is assess, then after that argument, you would need to show balance. But all we wanted to do here was show you what a good paragraph looked like. Okay, so I just wanted to clear that up. Depends on your exam board. Now, another thing I just wanted to pick up on, you will see at the start of both of our chains of analysis, we have not defined the key term in the question. That's because it is not necessary, and this is now picked up in examiners' reports. You can, of course, start off your answer with a definition, but there is no need, because when I read that argument, I know that whoever answered that knows what quality assurance is. It's inferred in the answer. Now, a lot of questions have 2 or 3 key terms in them, and when I'm marking work, I see some students who will define each one. There is really no need. If you think it'll give you confidence at the start of your answer, then you can do it, but you don't need to, because your knowledge can come through your analysis and your application and your evaluation. Definitions can just, can be a useful anchor point, but can cost you time in an exam. You do not need to start your answers with definitions. Okay, so hopefully I've cleared that up about the difference in the exam boards there. All we're doing is showing you what a good paragraph would look like. Now, remember, if you're an EdXL student, you will in paper 1 and paper 2 get explain questions. Explain questions are only worth 4 marks, 1 mark knowledge, 2 application, 1 analysis. But this is probably a paragraph that would be suited to an assess question. If you're an EdXL student, you would need balance. AQA students, you wouldn't, if it was an analysis question. Okay, then, moving on. So this is a little bit of evaluation now. We're just going to ramp it up a little bit. So we've got a business here who probably, it uses quality control, and it is going to introduce a system of quality assurance. What I want you to do is maybe if you can give me 1 reason, if you could give me 2, that'd be great. If you could give me 3, that would be absolutely fantastic. 3 reasons, give me 1, 2, or 3, why the benefits of moving or introducing a system of quality assurance might only be realized in the long term. So this is an evaluative question, really, and it has been examined before, this type of question. So why might the benefits of introducing quality assurance in a manufacturing business only be realized in the long term? Jim, can we start the clock, please? Fantastic. Now, that music wasn't actually embedded in the slide. You can't see this, but I was on guitar, Jim was on drums, and Mike was on the bongos there, because that's just how we roll. Now, it is fantastic. The level of response in the chat window is really, really good, and you've really got to grips with the fact that, some of the benefits will only be realized in the long term. So let's quickly read through this, and I think most of you got it, which is fantastic. So, introducing a system of quality assurance will require all staff to be trained to check their quality. This could increase short-term costs. Therefore, the financial benefits of quality assurance might not be realized until the long term. Also, productivity may decrease in the short term as employees get used to being responsible for checking their work. This could lead to a short-term increase in labour costs per unit. Remember, if productivity falls, labour costs per unit increase, then that leads to an increase in unit costs. What I would really want to see is when you're talking about labour productivity, don't just jump immediately to unit costs. There's a step before that. It's labour costs per unit, which is part of unit costs. So low productivity, higher labour costs per unit leads to higher unit costs. And there was some really insightful stuff in the chat window talking about culture. There may be some short-term resistance from staff who don't want the responsibility of checking their own work. Maybe they're not getting any extra pay. So there could be some short-term resistance from staff who may not be keen on accepting new roles and responsibilities. And I must say, the level of response in the chat window, the answers are absolutely phenomenal. You've done really, really well. We're going to finish off now with a couple of MCQs from Mike.
Thanks, Graham. Yeah, we're going to do some 2-statement MCQs, and they're called that because we're going to give you 2 statements and you need to decide whether they are true or false. So statement number 1 here reads, offshoring involves delegating one or more business processes to an external provider. Statement number 2, outsourcing involves relocating business processes such as manufacturing to another country. So if you think that both statement 1 and statement 2 are true, put A. If you think that 1 is true but 2 is false, put B. If you think that 1 is false but 2 is true, put C. And if you think they are both false, put D. Answers in the chat window, please. Give you a few seconds on this. So we've got statement 1 about offshoring, delegating one or more business processes, and then outsourcing, relocating business processes to another country. I think we've got general agreement in the chat window, not universal, but general agreement. So we'll reveal the answer to you. And as most of you have identified, it is D. They are both false. Commonly confusing pairs here, offshoring and outsourcing are both false. Both definitions here are false. Offshoring is relocating business processes to another country, and outsourcing is delegating one or more processes to an external provider. So they're the wrong way round, but they are both false. Well done if you got that right. Here's another one. Statement number 1. If unit costs are falling and output is rising, then the business may be experiencing diseconomies of scale. Statement number 2. The success of just-in-time operations is often dependent on good supplier relationships. As before, if they're both true, it's A. If 1 is true but 2 is false, put B. If 1 is false and 2 is true, put C. And if they're both false, it's D. Answers, please. They're coming through thick and fast. As Graham said there, the contributions today have been excellent. And the level of accuracy and detail in your response has been phenomenal. So again, largely general agreement. Let's see the answer, please, Jim. And it is indeed C. Statement 1 is false. Statement 2 is true. Statement 1, if unit costs are falling and output is rising, then the business may be experiencing diseconomies of scale. No, it's experiencing economies of scale. Economies of scale for 1. So 1 is false, but 2 is true. Just in time may require more frequent deliveries from suppliers, and therefore it relies on good relationships with those suppliers. Read those statements carefully. If you made a mistake with statement number 1 there, then pay particular attention, please. Really important to read things carefully. And that brings us to the end of the session. Well done, everyone.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. That's the first of our sessions for this calendar year. And as you can see from those activities, we've got some other new activities to show you next week and the week after as well that help develop analysis and application and evaluation. So we'll give those a spin, as well as taking a look at the stepping stones and the connection spinner again. But as Graham said, and right at the start, we'll also keep testing knowledge, because knowledge underpins the higher order skills. So we'll keep going at those. And if you found this session useful, as always, we ask you to give it a thumbs up on YouTube, either live or if you watch it on replay. If you go to the tutortoyou.net/live link, which is down there on the screen, thanks, Graham, close. I think we've got something like 35, 36 recording sessions from, it'll be this, plus all the previous 35 sessions we've done in the last 12 months or so. So if there's a particular topic area that you want to go over, maybe you've got a mock or something, some other assessment coming up, go have a look through there and see if there is a session that you will find useful going over, particularly quantitative skills. And well, yeah, I think we just about covered it all, didn't we, in the last 12 months?
Yeah. Can I pick up some stuff in the chat window there? So
Let's
the
do
next
it.
one, one will be next Tuesday at 5 o'clock, and the topic will be, and Jim doesn't even know this, hot off the press, it's business growth.
Nice one.
So organic growth, merger takeovers, that type of thing.
That'd be good. Yeah, fantastic stuff. Well, as always, huge thanks to Mike and to Graham for putting the session together and leading us through it. And all the best to the rest of you for the rest of this week. If you're joining us live, spread the word. Great numbers tonight. Spread the word, and we'll look forward to catching you for a session on business growth, I've just been told. So we'll see you this time next week. See you later.
See you guys. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.